piece of paper, you know. I'm not, you know, minimizing the work. It is a lot of work for someone who wants to be a scholar, and for, of course, my beloved professors and all my respected teachers of all times. Well, I did do a lot of degrees, but I don't really believe in degrees. I think it's just something that makes you go forward and go beyond, you know. But I was extremely privileged to be able to study at those big schools, and of course, the biggest, the School of Life. And I don't consider myself at all as a professor. Well, I have been teaching a lot, I taught a lot, still am. But I would really like to see myself, first of all, as a writer, which I've always done, and as a student, because this is philosophy of mind. And in philosophy of mind, you never, ever stop learning. And this is what keeps you young. It keeps you curious. That's very important. And since this is a science that really, this is what I wanted to say earlier, it deals with the process of thinking, which is important. What a thought is, it's the structure of a thought. The mind is a very special place. And according to Descartes, I'm a very Cartesian thinker, I'm very proud of it, Descartes and his substance dualism, the very famous argument, deals with this, you know, at a global scale. Descartes believes that your mind, the substance of your mind, which is the whole idea of the substance dualism, your mind is probably extracorporeal. Your mind does exist around you, not inside you. What I used to say is, if I take you to an X-ray place and look at your head, at the inside of your head, I'm definitely going to see your brain. I'm not going to see your mind. So the brain is part of my body, the physical part of the thinking.
Yes.
But you know, the one that really does the thinking and the process of thinking
is the mind.
Yes, happens somewhere else and is somehow connected to a bigger mind and a collective mind, etc., etc., etc. So this is very important, and it's certainly above us. The mind makes us function. We don't make the mind function. It's superior, it's higher, it's above.
Why do I keep making the same mistake over and over again? Is it a stupid thing to keep doing the same mistake? Is it because I have certain ethics and morals that I've been raised to and I cannot get rid of, and this makes me do the same thing or keep repeating the same mistakes over and over again? It's a philosophy question here.
Well, yeah, well, philosophy and psychology and parapsychology and other fields of knowledge. But I'm not sure that we do really learn from our mistakes. I don't think so. I have this very weird example I always give to my students, which is, would you rather prefer living up the Himalaya, you know, as I don't know, a Tibetan Lama, for instance, whom I respect very much? But I think, oh my God, that's too easy. They live up there, you know, they don't talk to anyone. They eat the fruit from the trees, and they drink the goat from the milk from their goats, and that's it. So there is very little room left for the other, the absolute other. Without the other, you cannot even start to measure how you deal with anything, because you only exist in the eyes of the other. If there was no other to witness you doing this or saying that, you wouldn't even know that you are. So the other is crucial for me to prove my own being, my own doing, whatever.
So the choices were, would you rather, the choices that, or the choice that you gave to your students, would you rather live up in the Himalaya, or
most of them would like to go up there, or just live among the others and be, you know, the one that interacts with everybody else.
And did those who answered you that they would love to go and live up in the Himalaya, the simple life?
Too easy.
Do they know what kind of life they are encountering?
Not really. sometimes it's just an idea. You know,
That's my
everything
point.
is only an idea. They
That's
don't
my
know.
point.
But in this case, there is very
The
little room for sin
the
for it.
unknown is always easy to imagine because it's unknown.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's unknown, but again, it's taking less risk. You know, there is very little room for sin as far as religion is concerned. You have nobody whom you can lie to. You have nobody whom you can steal.
You can do
you
that
have nobody whom
while,
you can cheat on.
yeah, in your life as well.
But in your what we call the life, our life of today, the everyday life, see, there is way more risk, and it starts. Philosophy of mind starts and begins when you open your door and you say good morning, or you don't. Your neighbor, your, I don't know, the person you meet, next person you meet, it starts there, because it's important that you measure your being as compared or as opposed, depends how you think, to the others. Without the others, you cannot even evaluate your own thinking.
Exactly. This is the code of living in a society, because living in a society means that
We're
you are
social animals.
exactly.
You
but
can't live alone.
for some people, even though you live in a society and you have to stick to the codes of that society,
Yes.
which you might accept or refuse, but you
Yes.
have to still, even if you refuse it from within you, or
Yes.
you refuse certain things in the society, but still you have to accept them. For example, living in let me give you an example. Me as Hala, living in the Oriental society, which I view as a male-oriented society, and that this society gives more rights and freedoms to males rather than females. But still, living in that society, I have to accept that, even though I do not approve it from inside. And this creates a conflict for a person. But sticking to religion, I have to get back to religion. Sticking to religion and ethics solves many problems and creates problems for other people. Do you think so? Do you agree with me?
I'm afraid not. I have a different view of things. Well, I do agree on a certain level, but there are two major points here in your very interesting question. That's a very good question. Not anybody would like to answer, actually, because it does go very much into your very deep and very personal approach.
Yes.
There are 2 points here. The first point I would like to mention, there is a word that I used to use a lot to write and say, but I have recently learned not to use it anymore. I don't like it anymore. This word is tolerance. I was speaking to my friend and really sister. I'm privileged to know an artist, French lady. Her name is Catherine Sayouz. She's a wonderful artist. She paints and draws, and she is a philosopher and a thinker. And she looked at me one day, and we were talking about tolerance, and she said, Rada, don't say tolerance, because tolerance is not humble. When you say tolerance, I tolerate this. This means that you are better than the other, and that you will accept him to be different. You are not allowed to do that. Tolerance is not humble, and I had to think a lot about that. I think she's very right. My second argument is the Oriental society, the male, the Egyptian, the Arab, the Oriental, the Eastern, whatever you call it, everything is based on this argument, in our society at least. Or we just think so. And the woman here, the woman with a capital W, okay, is not less than a man at all. We have succeeded in creating over a centuries-old argument that tells the whole world that women in this part of the world are oppressed, don't have rights, and the whole, essay we usually come and say. But being a feminist and an activist, and I write a lot about women's rights, I write a lot about harassment.
And I'm coming to that in my next question.
But you need to go to Upper Egypt, the real Egypt, to Akhmim, for instance, the country of the wise, the country of the thinkers, to the real south, deep into the core and the bone of Egypt. And there, trust me, Hela, it's matriarchal. A lady in any given family, the poorest, the most modest, you see, will be leading and will be commanding over 20 men, big, huge Egyptian men.
This is well known in Upper Egypt,
Absolutely.
but it's not the case in other parts of the country.
Well,
I'm talking about urban areas in particular, not rural areas.
Okay, urban areas are very special because I call them the mixed blood things.
Exactly.
So we do have a lot of trouble. Now, the situation of the woman in our country today